Welcome to Ahead of the Curve podcast. This is season 1, episode number 8. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are so glad you have decided to join us here at Ahead of the Curve podcast. My name is Crystal, and this is
Coach 10, aka the guy that brings all the fun.
I'm aka Coach K. So welcome out, guys. We're so excited you're here with us tonight. We've got an awesome presentation tonight. I am just really excited to be presenting to you a really interesting gentleman tonight. So we're pretty excited.
Who we interviewing today?
You're about to find out here in just a second. So we're just going to hang tight for just a second. We want to make sure our followers come on. So
technology takes some time from the cloud, from the studio to the cloud, from the cloud to the end user. That was a mouthful.
Most definitely. So we're going to get started here in just a second. But how have you been, Coach 10?
I have been mucho bueno.
Awesome. Your week
That's my
going
really
pretty
bad
good?
Spanish. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Awesome.
Hable un poquito.
Hablemos español.
To all my Latin lovers out there, how y'all doing? And so, yeah, I guess we are live on YouTube right now. So,
All right.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started, guys. We've got a lot to talk with you about tonight. The first thing I'd like to do is introduce to you a gentleman originally from Lusaka, Zambia. We've got Mr. Integra MoKo over here, MoKo Golf. So welcome to season 1, episode 8. We're going to be talking about professional golf. We're going to be talking about how making golf fun and exciting. And we're just really in for a treat tonight. So just a little bit about Integra. Is that your picture? It sure is. All right. So Integra, first of all, as we were talking to kind of introduce you, I wanted to make sure that I introduced you correctly, but he definitely puts God first. And one of his favorite scriptures, as you can see here, is, "Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, 'Whom shall I send? And who will go for us?' And I said, 'Here I am, send me.'" Isaiah 6:8. So it's one of his favorite scriptures. He is a professional golfer. He is an engineer by trade. This gentleman has a double master's in industrial systems engineering and mechanical engineering. A few of his previous jobs, he worked in a warehouse. He's worked as a trucking and logistics supervisor. Some of the projects that I thought were so cool that he's worked on, he helped create the Agria vehicle for GM. He was the ergonomics lead engineer for the reduced gravity simulator. All these are mouthfuls. So pretty cool stuff. I want to hear about that here in just a second. But he's also a Squares shoes ambassador. Some awesome shoes that I know he's
those
been
are
an ambassador
fantastic,
for.
ergonomically designed. So I am all for anything engineering that helps make people's lives easier.
Awesome. He's a club fitter. He's part of the Wilson staff as well for golf. And I wanted to introduce his Instagram here. So if you are on YouTube right now and you're seeing his page, he gives some really good tips. I was looking through it the other day. He gives some great tips in regards to the different courses around Florida, actually around the US. He gives tips on your swing and different things like that. So really awesome. And some good quotes come off there too.
Yeah, I'm just doodling here on YouTube as I see the viewers joining in. Awesome. Thank you, guys. We've got people from South Africa, England. We've got people from New Mexico joining in. Thank you so much.
Awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and go over to a little bit more about Coach. Who is Coach 10?
All righty, so guys, I'm originally from Zambia. That's my lovely native land. I'm from the capital, Lusaka. And so in the picture there is actually the Victoria Falls. It's one of the world's wonders, and that's where I'm from. It's a beautiful Zambia is called the real Africa. So if you ever want to go out on a tourist vacation, if you ever want to experience the real Africa, every single person that I get in touch with on the plane there or coming back always says the people, the culture is rich. The flag, the green stands for all the green in the country and the agriculture. The copper there is obviously for the #1 mineral that we mine. The black is for the native people, and the red is for the blood that was spilled fighting for our independence.
Wow, that's awesome. That is really cool. All right, so tell me a little bit more about you. Who is Coach Ten? I mean, like, you know, sometimes we hear about you. I know you've been like on a Golf Galaxy commercial, all kinds of cool stuff.
Oh my goodness,
but
yeah.
who are you? Like, I really want to know who you are.
Okay, so I'm originally from Zambia. That's my mom. She is such an integral piece. She is a cancer survivor. And because of her, she's always kind of bestowed upon me a level of work ethic second to nobody. I have not met anyone who works harder than my mother. And so she just does an amazing job. She raised me a great, family person. That's a picture of my dad. He ran the 3rd biggest dam in the world. My mom is actually an entrepreneur. She was a business lady, and she branched off and had the entrepreneur spirit, has run grocery stores. She's run schools. She's done a lot of fashion too.
I think she's sewing in that picture.
She actually is sewing. So the entrepreneur spirit in the MoKo
awesome.
household was definitely abundant. And obviously my dad was an engineer.
Awesome.
And then that's my 2
who's
brothers.
that?
Oh, that's me. Oh, no, take these off. Take these off. Oh my goodness, where'd you find these?
Oh my goodness.
You are so shameless. My goodness. Anyway, that's me over there. I was a little tyrant growing up. Can we go to next, please? But those are my 2 brothers in the middle. And those are pretty much my second parents. My 2 brothers. I was blessed. Oh, the picture there with me. I was huge into like Ninja Turtles and karate, Bruce Lee and karate. I was like, ah! But yeah, that was me when I was young, extroverted, and my 2 brothers, just my second parents, pretty much. They're very integral to my success in raising me.
Awesome.
Then my culture. So Zambia is a very rich culture place. Even though it may be humble in terms of world economics, it's definitely rich in terms of culture, sport, and just education. I think we probably got one of the highest education rates in the Southern Hemisphere.
Awesome. All right. And then I see you golfing down here in the bottom picture.
Yeah, so those were my early days. That was me playing junior golf. That's a tournament called the Chick of the North. It's a very big tournament back home, right after Lusaka Club Championships. So any of my Zambian counterparts can relate. My family was always huge into travel. And so my parents worked hard the whole year, and then every December would make it a point for us to travel the world. So, the picture there is us in Atlanta. I think that was 1996 after the Olympics. And yeah.
Awesome. So I just want to ask, what are some of the places that you've been in the world?
Woo, I've been everywhere. I've been to Australia. I've been to England. I've been to China. I've been to Vancouver, Atlanta, obviously.
Awesome.
I've been everywhere.
I've been everywhere.
Not everywhere, but I've done my share of traveling. So multicultural from my roots. And I'm huge into community and outreach. That's something that I just kind of learned from my mother.
Okay.
She's, my grandfather was a great community administrator, and he did a lot of work just in the government, whether it's administrating different municipalities, training different government branches, etc.
Okay, awesome. Now, I know something that a lot of people are always asking, what does Integra mean? And can you pronounce it just to make sure we're saying it correctly?
Hold on. I need to take a sip before we start there. Oh, so my name Integra actually means a small lion with a really big heart, right? And so when I was born, I was actually born premature and I was really small, but I packed a punch. I was really loud.
Awesome.
So the name came fitting, obviously, and
Awesome.
I guess the name sticks.
I guess that's why we connect, because I was premature as well. So I know
really?
Dynamite comes in small packages, right?
Nah, baby, you came at the right time.
Oh my goodness.
All
All
right.
right, let's go and I'm going to dig right into some questions here. So, because our podcast is intended to help people stay ahead of the curve, and I think, you know, this is going to be an interesting podcast because the golf industry, I think, is considered essential here in the state of Florida, right?
Yes, so golf is an essential sport out here in the state of Florida. Shout out to the governor for, you know, and all the other mayors and everybody from the county courts all the way up to, you know, the government that have helped it become so. And I think when people think about golf in Florida, just the tourism alone, and it's such an integral piece that if we lost golf courses or economically shut down or, you know, went into remission, I think it would be hard for the state to kind of come back. And so COVID was interesting where we isolated, but you could go out and self-isolate while playing golf and not, you know, mingling with others.
Okay. So how did COVID-19 actually affect your business?
Oh, so COVID-19 was just business as usual. We didn't really, you know, like I said, social distancing laws were, you know, adhered, and that's, you know, a group of golfers all lasering a flag. I don't know why we do this on par threes. I think golfers have got trust issues. They never trust. Hey, you know, hey, what was it? 158 or 159? No, it's 158.7. I got sloped. So
Oh
yeah,
my goodness.
it's really interesting.
All right. So now that lockdown is over, cities are opening up again. Are you getting more and more customers, or are you getting less customers, or what's going on?
So now that we've kind of gone through, it's really interesting. And I was talking to a GM the other day. So golf has actually gone up 25% since COVID hit, because obviously it's an outdoor exercise sport. People have been stuck at home and they've needed to kind of go out and play. And so before golf actually, you know, the seasons of golf rather were snowbirds in Florida kind of come down and they come down around, you know, the winter time, and they stay till about, you know, April, May, and then they leave. Right. And so snowbirds being, you know, I actually thought those actually, when I first moved out to Florida, a bird that was called the snowbird. So I kept looking for it. And whenever people talked about it, I was like, where's it at? I don't see it. So, but actually it's different working professionals that come from the north, vacationers that come down to the south, and actually not really the north, but from everywhere around the world, from Iceland, you know, Canada, New York, etc. And so usually in the summertime, golf courses actually experience downtime, but I call it COVID mania, or golf's COVID mania, is that it's actually blossomed, right? So some weeks, certain courses are experiencing up to 3 times their revenues compared to what they did last year.
Wow.
And so COVID's definitely helped the golf industry bounce back now that, you know, cities are starting to open.
Right. But I think, you know, I think when things start getting back to normal, now that snowbirds have left, I mean, do you think that people are going to start going back to work, and the golf courses are going to start experiencing that downtime again?
Well, I think what's going to happen is it's kind of extreme, because I think once everything settles down, obviously some people are getting furloughed, unfortunately. You know, I listen to the Wall Street Journal news/podcast, and so, you know, that's going to affect a lot of people spending power in terms of going out to the golf course, or even just having time, because they may be now stuck at home filling out job applications or doing online interviews, or kind of spending a lot of time helping solve certain problems on LinkedIn.
Right.
I know a close friend of mine is doing that, and hopefully that gets him a job. And so once COVID mania kind of goes away, it's kind of scary because we don't know, right? We don't know economically what's going to happen. And definitely we're going to need some sort of lag time between COVID mania and things going back to normal.
Right.
And what that lag time looks like, will revenues drop? Are golf courses preparing for that diminishing profit return per week? I don't know. I hope they are.
Most definitely. Well, I did a little research and I just wanted to read a quick quote here. Stating golf is dying, many experts say, according to one study by the golf industry group, Palooka Corp, the number of regular golfers fell from 30 to 20.9 million between 2002 and 2016. Ratings are down, equipment sales are lagging, and the number of rounds played annually has fallen. Unless the golf industry can change its ways, the decline will mean a lot of empty greens across the country. How that land is used or isn't could reshape America's suburbs for decades to come. So if you could just talk a little bit, Coach Ten, a little bit about the harsh reality of what is actually going on, even though COVID mania is here. What's the harsh reality, would you say?
Well, the harsh reality, guys, is that golf courses, even here in Central Florida, where this is considered one of the golf capitals of the world, if not the golf capital of the world, golf courses are closing. I can actually, from my doorstep here, I can drive within a 50-mile radius. And over the last 4 or 5 years, Eroy Estates has closed down. Deer Golf Course has closed down. Rolling Hills Country Club has closed down in Altamont Springs. Deer is in Castleberry. Iran is in Apopka. And I think that's Magnolia Plantation, a picture of the old Magnolia Plantation up in Sanford, Lake Mary area.
Wow.
And so the harsh reality is that, hey, golf courses are closing down and, everyone kind of needs to prepare because the entire landscape of how we do business, how people engage in sport, and how we get customers to the tee has totally changed.
Wow, awesome. Well, before we go any further, Coach Jen, I just want to make sure you got your tea there.
Oh, yeah.
We got our crumpets here.
Yeah, ginger turmeric. I'm trying to get my immune system all boosted up here.
Golf Nerd. Who's Golf Nerd by?
By Couture. It's actually the brother company to Travis Matthews. So they were at the PGA Tour Superstore. Shout out to Travis Matthews.
Awesome. All right, so let's just get back into it. So what does golf need to make a solid comeback?
That's a really good question. I think to do that, I guess we need to, what race are we running here, right? Are we running the sports versus business race, right? Because obviously there is the golf business, and a shout out to all my PGM members out there. And then there's also the sports business. So I just think as a sport, golf definitely needs to give more access to blue-collar workers, right? And to do that, you got to engage them in fun activities. And so, and I think there's a lot of, so I grew up in the British system. And, one thing that I kind of learned is how, there's more access for just the ordinary guy to at least experience golf in some shape or form. And some of the things that they're doing out there in Europe, whether it's Sweden or Japan, is they're really engaging people in not having to spend $50 to $100 for a tee time. And I think a lot of people don't relate to golf because it's predominantly been a, and I'm not trying to be thought-provoking here, but it's predominantly been seen as a rich, Caucasian, elderly sport, right?
Yeah.
And then when Tiger came along, he kind of made it hip, and that wave of new guys that kind of thought, okay, golf is cool. So I just think golf needs to give more access to minority professionals. And by minority, I'm not talking about race or gender, whatever. I'm talking about people that can relate to the masses. So people that are maybe economically, they don't come from a trust fund economics, right? They just come from a demographic where, hey, mom and dad both work 2 jobs. when I get out, I also got to work a job or two to raise my family.
Yeah, that blue collar worker.
Exactly.
Most definitely. And I think that's the majority of society. And what I've found too is, you know, as I'm looking now at different countries, I mean, I'm just seeing so much difference as to way they run golf versus the way we do here in the US. I see more kids involved. I see more women involved. I see more family outings, things that they're doing with family outings, more just more fun activities. And so they're really blowing out of the water with these types of activities. So yeah, definitely, I think as a sport, those are true.
As a business, I think what challenges, you know, certain golf courses are facing is obviously the culture experience, kind of like we're talking about the blue collar worker, or the masses, pretty much. I don't like using that term, but the masses, right? And so most people want to experience some sort of culture and be involved in some family or community activity. So like I come from a golf course, Lusaka golf course. There's 4 or 5 tournaments that are run by the golf course, whether it's individual Stableford, whether it's medal, whether it's bogey, and these are 18-hole golf course tournaments, and they include pretty much a membership of about 80 to 100 people play. So they've got tee times maybe from 8 until 10:30, and then they start tee times from 12 until 2 or 2:30, right? Okay. So they fill up the tee sheet very well. And yeah, and then I just think letting you grow your membership base is also pretty huge. And, you know, 1 and 2 kind of coincide together. Okay. And then obviously, how do you retain some of that membership, right? So a lot of people get a membership and it's so Cartesian from, okay, I'm going to get a membership just to go play golf because it's cheaper and I don't have to jump on golf now because, okay, I spend roughly 15 or 20 bucks on golf now. And we do the math in our heads, right? Because obviously, resources are finite and you got to allocate them wisely, especially post-COVID. A lot of golf courses need to kind of think about that membership retention. And then another thing from the golf business is employee retention, right? So a lot of people get into golf thinking they're going to make a lot of money. And then I meet a lot of PGM people that got out of golf and they're like, hey, there's no money in golf. So I think there's definitely a challenge in that.
Most definitely. Well, I know like sometimes I'll go into a golf course and I continuously go to the same golf course and I see somebody new like every other day in the pro shop. Finally, I asked the owner, I was like, well, what's going on? He's just like, you know what? I just can't keep people at the front desk.
Wow.
So I do understand what you're talking about when it comes to employee retention. And then here in Florida, it's also very humid outside. So I see different cart people, I mean, all the time as well. So competing with competition, what do you mean by that?
So in Orlando, or Central Florida, should I say, there's over 1,000 golf courses in a 50-mile radius.
Wow.
So when me and my buddies are looking for a place to go play, we have, I guess, the cream of the crop, right? I mean, I guess Myrtle Beach also is another place that's got a lot of golf courses. But pretty much we've got carte blanche in terms of, hey, I want to go play Royal St. Cloud, which is a links course. I want to go play Mayfair Country Club, which is part of the historic 9-hole golf course of Central Florida. So it's so difficult because, right, if you don't have a culture or a clientele base or a membership retention program, people will easily go, oh, okay, I'm going to go over there. Oh, I'm going to go, oh, I'm coming. No, I'm going over there. And then you kind of lose people like that because the competition out here is stiff. And I just think if the golf culture was more warming to the average Joe, I think the average Joe would play more. There'll be more numbers playing, and that would help kind of curb some of this competition where it's a dog-eat-dog world, and you don't have, 5, 6 golf courses closing within a 10, 50-mile radius from your doorstep.
Right, most definitely. Just having that that committed person to your golf course, I think, you know.
Uh-huh.
So location, let's just kind of get through these very quickly. We've got location, pricing expectations. What do you mean by 18 holes, 9 holes lessons, club fitting and stuff?
Well, we did a survey that we sent out, a friend of mine, and shout out to Jamie out there. And what we found out in the survey is we interviewed like 10,000 people, right? Just an online survey. We found out that the average person in Central Florida only wants to spend $50 for a golf lesson.
Wow.
And so that severely undercuts what people charge, right? I mean, I can go to an academy and get charged $400 an hour, or I can go to a PGM person who's going to charge me $150 an hour, or I can go to, you know, an aspiring mini tour guy that's going to charge me slightly less. But, you know, at the end of the day, a lot of people don't want to spend $150 for an hour, or maybe they can't afford it, right? So I think the market needs to meet their customers where the customer is at.
Okay. Marketing funding. What do you mean by marketing funding?
Well, marketing funding, I think, is huge. The reason why most golf courses are kind of shutting down is they lose their clientele base, or they have a membership, and then what happens is a different golf course comes in and kind of markets themselves to those members better than that golf course. And so slowly that golf course gets bled dry. And then, you know, once they get bled dry, it's kind of like you got to attract golfers with, you know, a lot of marketing, a better course. Maybe you got to redo your greens, the fairways, the tee boxes, etc. And that can cost a lot and be really time consuming.
Most definitely.
And another thing that we are kind of always talking about is time, right? So I think, you know, a lot of golf courses that are successful take less than 4 to 5 hours to play around the golf. Some courses take up to 6 hours. And so maybe having more executive courses where, you know, there's more par threes, less par fives, less par fours. And so even if it's a par 67, like Winter Pines golf course out here in Winter Park, Florida, you know, people can kind of turn around the golf in 3 hours, and that's more attractive.
Well, I was even thinking like having more 9-hole courses where you're just working on your short game most of the time, you know?
Or like a par 3 course. Yeah, that would work.
That'd be awesome. All right, so let's go in. We're going to get through the rest of these very quickly, but how do the viewers stay ahead or prevent from falling behind the curve with your services? So now let's get into a little bit more of what you do.
Okay, so I would help people one of 3 ways, right? So yeah, that's my business card. And so I either help them with, you know, getting instruction, which is something that I love to do. I kind of stumbled across when I took a job coaching over 500 kids for 4 to 5 years. And so instruction, clinics, corporate tournaments, and charity tournaments. I do love me some good outreach.
Awesome. Well, I love your website. I went to your website and I was just totally appalled by just an amazing website. So,
okay.
Very, very cool stuff. So
when
yeah,
they love
I see
you, they hate on you.
I see on the top here you even have a blog too. So
yeah, well, the website is new, and I've been working on different projects. And obviously with COVID, you know, everyone kind of had to, you know, work on different things. But I'm gonna be bringing out a blog where we talk about, you know, everything from equipment to, hey, how do you breathe through a golf shot, to, hey, how do you have more fun, different types of games, etc.
All right. Well, I do know that I actually got to attend one of your clinics that you had, and it was a lot of fun. So
yeah, so that's the ladies' clinic out at Mayfair. It happens every, you know, Friday. And so 10 o'clock. Oh, my ladies, Friday, 10 o'clock. Pew, pew, pew. See you there. We also do club fitting through Wilson. I'm actually the tech rep for Wilson. And so if you want your clubs fitted, I always tell people it is important for you to have the right equipment. And you have no idea how many times, sometimes, you know, I will go and do an assessment lesson with the beginner golfer, and they just bought a set, obviously from Play It Again Sports or somewhere, and it does not fit them. It's too light. It's got the wrong frequency. And so as they come down and hit the ball, the club is really bent, and so they have to make this compensation move over the top, which just destroys their swing. And so I always tell people, when you start getting lessons, you do need to get fitted. It's not, hey, let me do lessons and then 6 months, a year from now, I'll see what clubs I need. No, I think if you've got a good instructor, or if you've got a good club fitter, they'll get you in the right equipment and send you down the right path.
Awesome. Well, I do know that we've had some testimonials, Coach Ten, that I've actually personally heard. You had worked with a few NCAA students, and they went on to win several NCAA tournaments.
Yeah.
So I definitely know that you've got a lot of testimonials and reviews on your website as well. So good work. I'm really impressed. You're very welcome.
Well, they did the work. I just kind of provided the direction.
Awesome.
You know, so and now they mentor me. So
Awesome.
See how that works?
All right. So before we get into the rest of the meat and potatoes of what you do, I just want to say, do you guys like our background here? We're here at a lovely golf course.
Yeah.
Sitting inside.
Just, sunset. 7:30 p.m.
Zoom. Background. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes of what you do. So talk to us a little bit about what MoKo Golf Events. Now, this is aside from your coaching business, right?
Yes.
This is MoKo Golf Events.
Yes.
What does MoKo Golf Events do?
So MoKo Golf Events is our expertise of charity events, corporate outings, demo days, golf clinics, networking events, product launches. One of the really cool events that we worked with was the Ladies of Justice. We actually had a networking ladies golf clinic. We had 3 stations: putting, hitting, and chipping.
Awesome.
Out at Disney. So shout out to Disney Golf Course for letting us do that. Lake Buena Vista. And then after we were done, we actually got onto a ferry, the Disney ferry. We, that's awesome. Ferried on the water all the way to a restaurant where we had cocktails and hors d'oeuvres. The ladies absolutely loved it.
Awesome.
I've helped different insurance companies actually come out and try and engage their community through a golf tournament and launch different products and portfolios.
Awesome. So who is comprised of the MoKo Golf Events?
So obviously yours truly, the guy that brings all the fun, this guy. No, I'm joking. So, obviously me, Crystal, you've been nothing but an amazing. I can send Crystal anything from my digital design specialist. Guys, if you ever want to, have a brand redone, website, whatever, she does all of that. So thank you so much. You have been a blessing. Awesome. Lori has definitely helped us with the management side, and she's great accountant and great manager. Has also kind of helped us drive and spearhead different projects. And Ian Peterson, just, such a great mentor in business. And if I never met Ian, I don't think this would have taken the form or the shape that it did. So definitely, we're not a dog and pony show. We're definitely a team of professionals, and everyone has got their aptitudes that we rely upon to be a successful team.
Definitely. Awesome. And I know that you had another good friend too that kind of helped with some of the ideas and just getting things going as well, Victor.
Yeah. Victor Castro. He was again, I've had a list of mentors, and Victor is definitely somebody that was so crucial. And so shout out to Victor out in San Antonio. I will see you soon, my friend.
Yeah, if there's anybody out in San Antonio looking for a good place to host an event for golf, it is definitely with Victor Castro, because he definitely makes that event feel like, you leave that event. It's actually, guys, event.
And I gotta say a little bit more on Victor. Victor is a person who totally understands customer service, and he really engages people. And we met when he was out at Dubs Drid, and he was the tournament director out there, and he ran the smoothest, most fun tournaments. Consistency. He was running these tournaments every week, and so shout out to Victor.
Most definitely. Awesome.
I also want to give a big shout out to Pete Sands, who's actually put great events too, great GM, and he's forward thinking with Mayfair Golf Course and just doing some of the other, activities with social media and etc.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So, we think of tournaments, and I see a lot of people trying to put on charity tournaments, and maybe they're launching a new product, but it's like all these things that they're having to think about and all these like things they have to get together for this. So how does your company help somebody trying to do that?
So we pretty much bring your golf event in a box.
Okay.
All right. So we take you from beginning, inception, all the way to having a successful golf event, and then the finish. And the finish is really important because you're trying to set yourself up for the next year.
Okay.
So the work breakdown, what a lot of people think that we do to summarize all of this is they just think, oh, okay, I'm going to come up with a timeline for my event for little Susie's, softball team. And we're going to organize the event, and we're going to come up with a game plan, and then we're going to initiate the event, and voila,
right.
Bob's your uncle.
Right.
But what really ends up happening, guys, is it's a web of activity that includes, a lot of things behind, and we've kind of streamlined all of this into a process where, we can take an event over a period, to kind of go through organizing the tournament, initiate the tournament, drive for sponsors, which is huge, and then the marketing, promotion, the tournament registration, and then finally game day, which is my happy place.
Awesome. So all of these, I mean, a good referral for you then would be somebody who is planning on doing it maybe towards the end of the year. They're starting in January and giving us a little bit of time. Is that correct?
Correct. So I like to do things 6 months to a year for a successful event. Okay. And so a good ask for me is anyone that either wants me to organize the event or is having problems, kind of having that sponsors drive, or they need help with the marketing and the promotion. Right. I've helped a lot of tournaments actually boost, like one tournament had 50 or 60 people, right, that played that tournament the previous year. We got them up to 120.
Wow.
And we had to get extra carts at the golf course, etc. Wow. And then the game day, that's where I really flourish. We have different activities, and I'm a people's person, so I love to engage the crowd and just be positive.
I have heard a lot of good referrals about your personality and just being on the whole and just really engaging with the customers, so and the people at the events. So this is a picture of you and everything that you take to your events.
Yeah, so that's me pulling everything out of the SUV. We've got golf bags, we've got fitting carts, we've got everything. So we let you worry less and enjoy more when you kind of hire us, which is the convenience of using MoKo Golf.
Awesome.
And so, that's me taking pictures at an event, super cool
because
time.
you come back and you actually like post pictures and stuff too to promote.
Correct.
For that company, correct?
Correct.
All right. So what is this one?
That one was actually a long drive challenge on a hole out at Golden Bear Kings Point for Cystic Fibrosis Sunny Shores charity. And this is a charity that helps kids deal with cystic fibrosis, and they kind of learn the different ways they can use different measures. And now people's lives are being prolonged just through the mentoring. Awesome. And so when you work with these charities, they really, they grip your heart, and, you look forward to coming back the next year and helping out.
I know you help with that event. Who's the person who helps put this together?
So Ed Luce, big shout out to Ed Luce. He's another person, once we got started with MoKo Golf, whose ideas I actually went out to pick. A great mentor in the community. He's actually an attorney. And so he kind of walked me through all the bells and whistles, how you get set up and how you do things the right way.
Awesome. Awesome. This is...
Oh, that's us at the Golden Bear Kings Point, prize giving. This was pre-COVID times, and we just put on a great event. Everyone was having fun.
That's awesome. So, Coach Tan, what motivates this lion with a big heart?
I'd have to say the first thing is my family. My family is my biggest motivator. I come from a very strong family structure. And so growing up, it was a little bit, it was just, you don't appreciate the structure when the coaching and the parenting and the upbringing. Right. And, but now, we all love each other, and I do everything for them. and my new family, which is AKA, this beautiful woman that is my better half. And, I just, baby, thank you. You do so much for me.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. So back to our show. So what separates
Motivated
Integra?
by love.
What separates Integra from other golf professionals?
Whew. Best way I can say this is I'm multiple thread, right? I do a lot of things. I've kind of been, engaged in a lot of activity at a high level. And I think for me, I hurt my neck in college, so I never really got a chance to play college golf. And then, I had to get surgery. And so I think that's what motivates me from other golf professionals is that I'm hungry because this was taken away from me.
Right.
And so I had to crawl my way back. I was hitting my 3-iron like 150 for like 2 years. So now I can hit my 3-iron probably 245-ish, 250. I put it on the tee.
So I know this picture, you went to New Mexico State University.
Yeah, I went to New Mexico State University, won the Golf Channel Am Tour event, won 3 that year, and finished second something like 4 times before I decided to come to Florida and turn pro.
Very cool. Brand-driven goals.
I think for me, that's what separates me the most is I know everyone talks about a brand, but for me, I've got a goal to actually be a global brand. Me just being multicultural, me just traveling the world, me just being involved in different industries. I come with an entire gambit of skills and tools that other people in the trade kind of overlook.
Right.
And so I like to prize myself as kind of being the unicorn of golf.
Awesome. All right. And then I think this also contributes to your success as well.
Yeah. And this is something that Coach K, AKA, my lovely wife, has helped me do is staying positive and being polite. Being an engineer, you're very type A. And so I feel like I've come from one end of the spectrum to the other in terms of, when you're type A, hey, I'm a problem solver. Hey, I'm really good at what I do.
Right.
But then kind of understanding that that's not important. You need to be zen. You need to be polite. And the respect and the positivity starts to come back to you. And I'm starting to see that. And so that, I guess that's the woman's touch.
Definitely. Well, I think one of the things that also sets you apart is, golf is not a one size fits all for everybody.
No.
And I think with your background as an engineer, you understand that there's different mechanics for different people. And I think this next slide really defines what sets you apart. So I put this on here because I really thought it had a lot of
Wow. So shout out to Couture for coming out with the Golf Nerd brand. But I love it because for me, I think golf is bringing a lot of science. And when I taught summer camp, I actually taught the kids STEM as well. And believe it or not, I actually created a STEM curriculum. And I've actually worked as a science teacher as well.
Right.
And so to me, I've always kind of, if anyone has ever seen Johnny Quest, I've always kind of considered myself as a Johnny Quest type character that is always thirsting for knowledge, right? But in a cool, fun way. And so when I am alone and I am, I don't have anything to do, I get a little bored. I jump on, different apps and I look at, use different apps to analyze different swings and just kind of illustrate different things that, either help my clients or help me play better. And I think that's the advantage when I've kind of dialed in my technique. I've gotten good results.
Awesome. Now I know that you're talking about STEM and whatnot. I know you were working with a program called Mission Enforced as well that helped create the esteem structure for kids.
Yes. So the esteem structure for kids pretty much is E stands for entrepreneurship. And that's big. And it's not just, hey, how do I go start a business and hustle? But no, how do you create a brand? And then the S is for science, the T is for technology, the E is for engineering, the A is for the arts. Because when you have an idea and you want to design something, you have to have artistic skills in terms of, hey, I can draw, hey, I can design this, hey, I can come up with a concept or a prototype. And then obviously the last is the M, which is the math, and I'm pretty good at that.
Awesome. So yeah, again, guys, visit missionenforce.org. It's a great program as well, helping to keep kids off the streets. So shout out to our Mission Enforced. All right, so what are some of the challenges that you have had with your business?
I think educating our business partners, right? Because in my industry, I have to work with people and kind of understanding how do you bridge that gap or get people to see a vision that hasn't been tried out yet. Because, you know, sometimes, you know, it's very easy for things to remain stagnant. And so, and it's comfortable, right? Because we reach a state where it's comfortable. But, you know, if we're gonna, even in the golf industry, my fellow professionals, we all have to brace and adapt for the fourth industrial revolution. And that means kind of trying some things outside of the box that will help grow your business in different avenues that you might not have thought of. So kind of partnering up with different people and kind of selling the vision to them has been one of the biggest challenges. And I'm actually surprised we've been able to pull it off in different instances and get some success.
Awesome. So what are the key factors that make you successful in business?
The key factors that make me successful in business. I think number one, my extroverted, curious nature. Starting out as a little kid, I was always willing to, number one, always be best dressed, and number two, to always just try things that were different, to express myself, to be authentic. Right. And so I've also learned to be polite as I've matured as an adult. And I think I'm still, you know, always trying to be the best dressed out there. So a lot of people make fun of me.
I know that people talk good about you, but they're always like, man, does Coach Jen even own a pair of shorts? Because you're always dressed from head to toe, nice, and slacks, you know, and
Mama always told me you got to be best dressed. She would never let me get out. She'd be like, hey, boy, I'm going to the store. So I think one of the things, getting back to the thing that really, you know, separates me and my success is from being curious, right? Engineering has taught me critical thinking, right? So from that, it's kind of like, how do you investigate? And when you investigate, how do you apply reason? And when you're analyzing, right? And then, you know, kind of going through full circle and reviewing your ideas and making them work and fitting everything like a puzzle. I love puzzles.
Right. I like the picture.
Yeah, having mentors that have taught me personal development. This girl right here, in all her amazingness, has really been. She came in my life at a time where I was not lost, but when you're trying to do things, you become so type A, and you come off as angry, right? And kind of working on your personal development, working on how do you synthesize your ideas, how do you communicate your ideas, how do you just go through a process of development and growth? Because sometimes when you graduate as an engineer and you've got a double master's, you feel like, hey, I've arrived. But you know, the world smacks you across the face and goes, hey, you need to wake up. But thank you so much for everything you've done.
You're welcome. You know, I want to just say that, you know, I think that everybody goes through certain things for a reason. And I really feel that you've gone through those things in your life to be an inspiration in these kids that you also are working with. There's a lot of kids that look up to you, and I know that you've had a lot of kids come back, you know, after years and just, Coach Ten, hey, how's it going? You know, I'm playing golf now on my high school team and so forth, that you had taught since they were little. So
that's amazing.
That's awesome.
That's always the best thing to see. So,
Definitely.
oh, and before I forget, shout out to Susan Marie Olmquist and Curtis. Those are two big mentors that, you know, recommend books. They call us up. They follow up like no other, and they really care about our success. And I've never met a couple that was just so involved in seeing other people grow. So have mentors, guys. That's a big one.
I know somebody that you're working with recently, Jamie, as well.
Yeah,
has been.
hey, he's got crazy, like super cool ideas, and he breaks things down to a nutshell, to like the
Awesome.
bare minimum. Like he takes a complex idea and he can explain it to a 5-year-old
That's awesome.
better than I can.
Awesome. So I know one of the things that the Mission in Force was encouraging was entrepreneurship. But what are some of the other programs that you're part of, or what do you?
So networking is huge, guys.
Okay.
And so I actually recently just passed to get on the Sanford Chamber of Commerce. I've been to a few chamber meetings. And if you want to learn how business is done and you're an athlete or you're an engineer, I mean, so we're not really taught these things in these genres or in these industries, right? You're kind of taught to just rely on you, whether it's your ability to be intelligent or your ability to be athletic. And you're not really taught, okay, how do you work well with others? How do you network?
Right.
How do you get to meet the people that may open some doors for you in the future? And it's not even about the, oh, help me right now, but just developing a network of people who you know, like, and trust, and they know, like, and trust you. Because guys, if you help enough people get what they want, they will help you get what you want. And you know, BNI, shout out to Business Matters, has helped me kind of understand how givers gain.
Awesome.
The last thing is the never say die attitude, guys. I've been stumbled, I've fallen, I mean, I've gone through everything. I mean, you know, having to sleep on people's sofas to keep the dream alive. You know, driving with only $400 in my pocket and a beat up Honda Civic to Florida to go, hey, I'm gonna be a professional golfer. But having that never say die attitude, and you know, I think the step from failure to success is paved with, you know, people who are in it to win.
Most definitely.
Right? A lot of people are just in it to go, oh, I want to do this. I want to just plug and chug, and it's going to work my first time I do it. And when they fall, they kind of stop.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, you know, I mean, your story is very interesting because, you know, I see some people who grew up not having to worry about like anything as far as, you know, being able to just go play every day and it be nothing to them, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, your story coming from Zambia, going to New Mexico State, and then, you know, having to work and fight your way to get to where you're at today, I think is huge, a huge undertaking. So
actually, guys, really the story starts with my dad, because he grew up in the village, right? And he made a life for himself, even though my grandpa was, you know, a mechanic, and he was like the first, you know, Zambian to own a car in his state and province. And he was a mechanic, and he worked for the Mercedes-Benz dealership. But, you know, he instilled that critical thinking in my dad. And then my dad kind of passed this thing on, like, hey, you have to go far. And so coming from a third world country, and being I was not a saint growing up. I mean, if my teachers could see me right now, goodness. But, you know, I did have a teacher. His name was Peter Bymolen, who was a counselor and was my mentor. And he actually got the gears ticking and helped me kind of think critically. And he's like, hey, he saw the gift, right? And so, and that's why I like to give back, because somebody saw the gift in me and he instilled it in me. So when I see kids, I always feel like you got to make an impact in kids' lives and instill whatever gifts that they have so that they can believe in their gifts. Because sometimes we don't become successful because we don't believe in our gifts.
That's awesome. That's good. So my question to you now is, you know, I know our viewers are curious. How do they get started with you and or your company?
So one of the questions in the chat here, real quick, Coach K, is, hey, we would like to know more about your story on how you pivoted from engineering to golf. That's a good question, and I think that's a good question for a follow-up. I know you know, one of our viewers kind of typed it out, you know, multiple times. But hey, you know, whew, I just followed my gut instinct, right? And my mom was pretty much one of my biggest encouragers for me to chase my dream. And so, but how do we get started? So I have my website up. I think, you know, if you go to the website, you know, you can kind of pick a club and go have fun playing golf, you know, get a tee time. If you need lessons, sign up on my webpage, download my app, and just go out, pick a club, and go have fun, guys.
Awesome. You have an app too?
Yes, I have an app,
Awesome.
and through the app, I kind of book all my lessons, you know, do
Okay.
everything on it. So yeah.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So, is there any resource tips or recommendations you could give our audience today with what you do?
Whew. Well, you know, one of the things that I want us to kind of go over is
Sorry, guys.
go ahead.
Sorry, guys. We're having technical difficulties.
Yeah, we're
there.
having a little bit of a
Apologize.
technical difficulty here. But one of the resources I wanted to share, obviously, was my website. And then if you ever have time, go to Play It Again Sports. You can get some pretty good equipment out there for dirt cheap. And I guess get to golf now and book a tee time. Get out there, enjoy the outdoors, play.
Get some hot deals. Get
those
out
hot
there.
deals.
Awesome, guys. Well, Coach Ten, I want to thank you so much for everything that you have done for this podcast, and appreciate you being here with us today. I want to give a special thanks to all our sponsors, ID Shield Independent Associates, helping to protect your most valuable asset, your good name. MoKo Shops, get your face masks for helping you to protect yourself. And then MoKo Golf, thank you again, Coach Ten, for everything you do for our podcast as well, helping you with all your golf needs from instruction to charity events and everything in between. Here is Coach Ten's website, mokosagolf.com. Visit that website, guys. Get your lesson in today and get out and join us. All right.
All righty, guys. So we will have a follow-up session. We're out of time. Maybe we will talk about some of the pivots coming from Africa all the way here to the United States, and kind of, you know, still navigating from South Carolina to Florida to New Mexico to California to Vancouver back to Florida. And each one of those pivots required different things. But yeah, that was a great question from New Mexico. Thank you so much. And we will catch you next Thursday,
Thanks,
7
guys.
p.m.
Ahead of the curve with Crystal and Jemwa. Have a great evening.